ministry.
We'd like to welcome you here today, call this meeting to order. I'm Commissioner Scott Jenkins. I'm sitting here with Commissioner Gage Frohr and Commissioner Jim Harvey. We appreciate them and their attendance. Our pledge today will be given by Rick Grover. Sean Wilkinson will give the invocation. The thought of the day will give by myself. So, Rick, go ahead.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the many blessings in our lives and the opportunities that abound in this community, and grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy here. We're grateful for this springtime, for the rain that we've received, for the beauty that surrounds us, and we would pray that we may receive more rain, that we may have the water that we need for our landscape, for our crops, and that we may be sustained in that way. We pray that those experiencing difficulty may find some relief, and that we may each do our part to help bring that relief and do what we can to make this community a better place. Again, we thank thee and acknowledge thy hand in our lives, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sean and Rick. We appreciate your providing services you do for this county. Well, thought of the day is me today. I think I'm going to take my mask off to do this. I've come down with a cold, so I'm trying to protect my two compadres here. I want to make sure they're healthy. You know, today is... what is today? The 17th of May. If you're like me, I got home last night, and the very first thing I did was walk over to my water spigot and turn it to see if something come out. And it did. I got secondary water at my house. So I was all excited. So first thing I did was put it on my lawn, and then I put it on my garden. And this would be a good year for all of us to grow a garden. I don't know what you're all thinking, but in this spring we've had 20-something processing plants across the country go down for one reason or another. Oh. Yeah, what a fluke. Food processing plants. And in the last about 5 weeks, there's been 11 of them. 2 of them were hit by airplanes. It's just different things. It's just really an anomaly what's happening here. And you're going, wow, what is this? But we had a recall on baby formula. And guess what's happening today? You can't find baby formula on the shelf. So I'm just telling you, giving you a word of warning. Right now would be a really good time to make sure you got your pantry full and a tomato plant or 2 in your garden, and maybe a bean plant or 2, something you could eat off of if it happens to get a little tough this year. Nobody really knows where this is going, and I'm not trying to in any way create a panic, but it's been a weird spring. You know, Ukraine's at war right now with Russia, and Ukraine is, you go through the statistics, they're in the top 3 in the world in exporting sunflower and sunflower oil, in grains, wheat, barley, oats. They produce and export. They are the breadbasket of Europe, the way our Midwest is our breadbasket. And they're definitely going to have shortages this year in Europe because of this. So if you haven't noticed, when you go to the store now and you get a loaf of bread, a little more money, isn't it? Costs a little more money. Well, that's because food produces are becoming in shortage already. And so I'm just giving you a little bit of a warning here. It'd be a good time to pay attention to what's happening around you. No more than that. Pay attention and make sure that you're doing what you should. And that's my thought of the day, Commissioners.
Good thought. Maybe keep a little protein in the backyard too.
Hey, on the hoof.
Yeah, on the hoof.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's
You're
what I was
right.
thinking.
No,
Or in the pond.
Yeah, in the pond, yeah.
no,
Maybe both.
yeah. Commissioner Frohr, you got a great point. You're in a good spot up there where you got a buffalo or two and a little fish in the pond and,
Little river in the back to
yeah.
take a bath in.
You had to, yeah, take a bath in. It'd be a cold bath, but you
Big
could
cold.
get it.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, very good. All right, we'll go to item D on our agenda today. Oops, item E, which is public comment. We've brought public comment back on our agenda now, and if there's anybody in the audience who would like to get up and comment today, we'd hope you would. We'd hope you'd hold it to items that are on our agenda. So please, stand, come forward. All right, I don't see anybody make any moves, so we'll move to item F, which are consent items. Yep.
Jan Fulmer, online.
Okay, Jan, I'm sorry. We just about passed you over accidentally. Go ahead, the time's yours.
Can you hear me, Commissioners?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, two comments, questions regarding the ordinance you're going to be looking at on accessory dwelling units today. Number one, my assumption is that ordinance does not allow short-term rentals in detached accessory dwelling units. I'm assuming that is correct?
That's part of the public hearing.
Part of the public hearing, Jan, so we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Okay. All right. The second thing is, at your work session yesterday, Commissioners, one of you, it might have been Commissioner Harvey, you were rather pleased that there was an amendment that was being made to correct this ordinance, and you wanted to really know if the residents in Ogden Valley would remember that the county had contributed $50,000 to the amount of money that needed to be raised for putting the monastery into a conservation easement. The Commissioners, I assure you, we do remember. It's very well known. So please don't question that, because we are so thrilled that that monastery, and we were able to raise the amount of money needed to put it in a conservation easement. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Jan. We
Wonderful.
appreciate that. We appreciate the thanks to us. That very seldom happens, so we appreciate that. You're very nice to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, Scott, you got Gary here.
Is this public comment?
It is.
It is.
Okay,
Please come up to the
sorry.
lectern or the podium and state your name.
Apologize for arriving a little late.
State your name.
Yeah, I will. Gary Fulmer, live in Eden, Utah. And I'd like to follow on with what Jan just said, is yes, we are very much aware of the $50,000 that the county contributed to monastery. That's terrific. We really, really appreciate it. There are some great plans going forward for the use of this, such as a public market, vegetables, so on and so forth. Hopefully that comes to play. But I'd also like to make the commission aware of one more thing, is these are some numbers that Treasurer Mr. Bond provided to us and due to a grammar request. And what it does is he broke out the expenses that the valley incurred from the county and also the revenue that the county got from the valley. So revenue gained in toward the budget, including taxes, fees, licenses and fees, and so on and so forth, exceeded the expense that was spent in the valley for over $1 million. 1.1 million 100. No, I'm get this right. $1,037,000. surplus coming to the county. So thank you very much for $50,000, but also realize that this may have been a one-time expense. You guys would know better than I am, but at least in 2021, the county gained a lot more money from the valley than was put out to maintain the valley. So thanks on both sides. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. We appreciate your comments today. Very good. We will go to the consent items on our agenda today. First items, approval of warrants related to our agenda today of $2,175,763. Request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $63,999. Request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on May 10th of 2022. A request for approval of change order number 1 on the Granite Construction Company for the North Og Divide project. Commissioners, any questions on that?
Not for me, thank you.
Commissioner Harvey?
None.
Ricky, would you like to report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We issued 11 purchase orders this week for $64,000. Just over a third of that amount, or $22,000, is for the transfer station, which will purchase fuel as well as composting supplies. 25%, or $16,000, is for the health department, which will buy computer equipment. 21%, or $13,000, is for the library, which is for maintenance for the building and for IT. As far as warrants, we issued 191 warrants this week for $2.2 million. Just over half that amount, 52%, or $1.1 million, was ramp awards that was given out to multiple agencies. 23%, or $505,000, is for the transfer station, which was primarily disposal fees. And then 8%, or $180,000, was for the jail, which was in large part due to medical and hospital services, but also food and utilities.
Very good. All right, I'm ready for a motion if either of you would like to make that.
Mr. Chair, with what's been presented and read this morning, I'll make a motion that we approve item F like Foxtrot on our agenda this morning, approving all the consent items, or namely 1 through and including 4.
I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye. They pass unanimously. All right. Item G on our agenda today, action items. Number 1, request for approval of donations of Prop 1 funds in the amount of $10,560 to the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for a concept report on Pineview Loop Pathway extension from the North Arm Trailhead to Pineview Spillway. Sean Wilkinson.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've seen several of these in past years. The Commission authorized $200,000 from our Prop 1 budget for trail improvements and maintenance. So this is the first request from the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah. Again, it's $10,560 for a concept report from the North Arm Trailhead to the Pineview Spillway. So that would complete a section of the Pineview Loop Pathway that does not exist right now, and this study would help us understand the safety features, where the trail might go, and a potential cost estimate for that future section of the trail. So that is the request before you today.
Good. Commissioners, questions? Either?
No questions. I would say this is obviously just a continuation of what the Trails Foundation has done both for the upper and lower valley from these Prop 1 funds. And again, we know that the Prop 1 funds come from sales tax, not property tax, just for way of information. And a lot of those sales tax dollars come from out of state. So it's great. It's great to see the impact this has on North Arm Trail. It's actually a great trail, but I think it only goes about 1.5 miles, so it'd be good to see that extended to the spillway.
Yes.
Those trails are well used in the valley. I can give you that as a personal note. So I'd be in favor of this, and I support the Trails Foundation Again, these funds that we contribute to the Trails Foundation are only to be used for these maintenance projects, not for overhead salaries, et cetera. So
Correct.
just so the public understands is that the funds are dedicated only for maintenance. So with that, I'd be happy to make a motion.
I'd be glad to take that.
So I would move to approve the donation of Prop 1 funds in the amount of $10,560 to the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for the concept report on the Pineview Loop Pathway extension from the North Alm Trailhead to Pineview Spillway.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, that passes. So Sean,
Thank you.
a question to you in
Yes.
regards to this. In our budget this year, didn't we end up giving $400,000 to the Trails Foundation?
I'm not sure
Or is it
about
200?
that.
I thought it was
It's
200.
200 specifically
Yeah.
of Prop 1 for these maintenance projects.
Okay.
And you've done that the past couple of
Well,
years
last
as
year,
well.
a year ago, we gave them 4. We doubled it. Now, I just didn't remember if we doubled it this year.
No, I believe last year was 2 as well. So maybe the combination of those, or there may have been another
remember
fund
the
that you
200,000.
took money from.
I thought it was
Oh,
2.
okay.
But
Anyway, I just wanted the citizens of the county to know that we're giving money to the Trails Foundation on a regular basis to try to keep these trails in good
Yes,
shape.
absolutely.
Very good. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Pardon me. G2 is a request for approval of resolution of Weber County to appoint a member to the Weber County Planning Commission, the West Weber County Planning Commission. Rick Grover.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We have one vacancy that's up for the Western Weber Planning Commission that we need to fill. We have 2 individuals that have applied for this, Louis Decker and Casey Neville, for you to consider those 2 names.
Thanks, sir. Questions, Commissioners?
No questions?
Commissioner Harvey, you said you actually interviewed and talked to them.
Yeah, I've talked to them both, and after reviewing their resumes and visiting with them, I'd like to make the motion when you're ready.
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion that we approve the name Casey Neville to the Planning Commission.
Very good.
And I'd second that with a question for Mr. Grover, if I might,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. So just to be clear, anytime we have a planning commission opening, that opening gets publicized on the county website. Is that correct?
Correct.
And we typically hold those openings for 10 days to 2 weeks, or what's our typical?
Usually 2 weeks is
So 2 weeks. So somebody that was interested in a planning commission position, whether that be in the Upper Valley or Lower Valley, obviously they have the ability to do that if they can check our website. We know when those openings are. So
Yes.
there's been some discussion or confusion that maybe that those positions weren't advertised. I want to make sure the public's aware that they're always advertised, and anyone that feels they're qualified can, in fact, submit their application.
Yes.
And then they have the ability to meet with you, and they have the ability to meet with any of the commissioners to discuss credentials and their ability to serve.
Yes.
So, anyway, I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that that is a very open, transparent process we go through.
According to the state auditor, too, we do it as well as anybody in the state of Utah, as far as our transparency with those types of things.
Commissioner, we also contact the Planning Commission and ask them and let them know to get the word out to the public
Sure.
as well.
Sure. But, yeah, so just everybody's aware that that's a very transparent, open, and we encourage people to serve on these boards.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. We'll call it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hold on.
Oh, you got to have the name.
Oh, yeah, this is a, hold on. Where is that? It's right here. This is a resolution.
I'm sorry. I'd like, Mr. Chair, I'd
Yeah?
like to amend my resolution.
You want to make your motion?
I'd like to amend my motion to
Okay, go
include
ahead.
Resolution 27-2022.
Do your motion. Okay, if you second.
That's fine. Second.
All right, go ahead and call that.
Okay, roll call vote for Resolution 27-2022. Commissioner Floor,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye?
Chair Jenkins.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks, Rick. All right, We're now heading into a public hearing, so I need a motion to close this meeting and open a public hearing.
So moved?
Second?
All fair side.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now in the public hearing. Mr. Scott Perks, you're up today.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to share my screen here. So this particular public hearing is on a county-initiated ordinance to amend the accessory dwelling unit code. For those who are maybe not aware, the accessory dwelling unit ordinance was passed last year, and it allows for anybody in a residential area to have what we call an accessory dwelling unit, or a separate living quarters for a mother-in-law or for maybe a tenant that would like to rent long-term. And to clarify that question we heard earlier today, the ADU ordinance does limit any ADUs to long-term rentals or leases over 30 days. No short-term rentals are allowed. Since that time when this was passed last year, we've had a couple of applicants, but we also found maybe a loophole in the ordinance where if you are going to have a detached ADU, so a casita or a cabin in your backyard, detached from your primary residence, you do have to have a second density right in order to permit that ADU. If it's integrated architecturally attached to the primary home, you don't have to have that second density right. So for individuals who need to acquire a density right, they would have to transfer one from somebody who had a surplus from another piece of property that was undeveloped. What we found is individuals looking to do that were looking for the low-hanging fruit, trying to find maybe a transfer right at a cheaper price, and so they started looking for units that were available. And we found that a lot of people were trying to transfer them from maybe the canyon or maybe from the hinterlands, such as Evergreen. And that wasn't the intention of the original ordinance. We had originally intended for transfers to occur from the valley floor into backyards of existing homes. So what I'm showing on the screen here is a map from the Ogden Valley General Plan that mostly shows what we would term the valley floor area. That's shown in green. The proposed amendment would label this area as ascending area for these transfer development rights. And we're not using the exhibit in the general plan for the valley floor. We're specifying this by zoning classification. So what we are proposing is that transfer of density rights only be allowed from the RE15, RE20, AV3, FE3, and S1 zones, which those zones, if you look on the map, does closely resemble this valley floor with exception to the canyon. The proposal does not anticipate any density transferring out of the canyon into the valley floor. And that's the proposal. It's a minor amendment just to designate where those units can transfer from. Nothing else is being proposed as part of that ordinance. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Commissioners, questions?
Just a clarification, just so we're all on, the ordinance was passed some time ago.
Last year.
In terms of the TDR being required and the attached, so that's not new information.
Correct.
That's already been passed. So all we're doing is saying that we're designating the sending areas can't be from the canyon and outside what I'm going to call the valley floor, which was actually called for in the general plan. So
correct.
Again, we're following that general plan that was put into effect in 2017.
Correct. This is a clarification.
And I have had a few calls or comments wondering why we would limit the sending areas and take out the county in some of that areas. They feel that it might be infringement upon private property rights, which, again, I respect those people that feel that way, but the intent of the plan was to really protect the valley floor. So I think this is a good move in terms of this ordinance.
Yeah, that's the intent here, is to protect the valley floor.
Yeah, that was the intent of the original ordinance. Yeah.
Correct.
So I just want to call to everybody's attention that this original ordinance that we passed was based on the fact that the state had passed one prior to us, and we were matching up to it. Right. So this is not correct. Something we had a lot of choice over. Secondly, we determined that we felt it was in the best right of citizenry that auxiliary dwelling unit ordinance pertains specifically to attached. So if somebody wanted to build something over the garage or in the basement or something like that, for somebody to build a cabin out in the back or another home or something like that, they are the ones that will have to buy a development right.
If it's detached, correct.
If it's detached. That's right. Mr. Harvey?
So by voting no on this, what it's saying is we would allow people who live up in Causey Estates or who live clear up on Avon or something to be able to transfer rights outside this area to the valley floor, which grows the density down to the valley floor.
That's right.
So if we voted no on that, it could potentially grow the valley floor much beyond what the intended was before. So I think the responsible thing to control the growth, to control water and everything else, the infrastructure would be to only transfer those rights within this proposed area. It would be the responsible thing to do if we're trying to control that growth.
That's right. We don't want any units coming from outside of the valley floor into the valley floor. So we're being a little bit more selective as to where those sending areas are, as is based on those zoning classifications.
I think it's wonderful that we have these open forums where we can talk and actually disseminate what's really happening with this. And I'm anxious for that to be communicated out as well. That's great.
And one final comment, if I might.
Go ahead.
Chair, is that you brought up that this was actually dictated through the state dealing with affordable housing. So anybody that's concerned with affordable housing, again, and since this is long-term, not short-term rentals, it gives citizens the ability to move in potential mother-in-law, maybe kids into that can't, we know that are struggling to find suitable housing. So again, it's part of that affordable housing plan that we, and Mr. Grover here, I think shaking his head, that we agreed, actually we had to agree to it because it was state statute, to come up with an affordable housing plan. This is one segment of that plan that helps us and helps those older citizens, the younger citizens, achieve that, hopefully that first step on the ladder for housing. So I think this is, for those that may not be in favor of this because of potential growth, I would say that the growth's going to come. We want those people to have a place to live or a place not to live. And this is an opportunity for us as a commission to show that we support affordable housing.
Very good. Well, Scott, does that end your presentation?
It does, unless you have any other questions for me.
None for me.
All right, thank you, sir. So we will now go to the public for comments on this. Now's your time to step forward and address us. And I see Mr. Gary Fulmer coming up.
Yes, that's correct.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Just a couple things here. I like what I heard today. You're certainly addressing three hot topics in the Valley right now, as Commissioner Foyer knows very well: short-term rentals, transfer development rights, and affordable housing. I think from what I've heard, you're going in the right direction here. I think this is a direction that helps all three of those. The other thing I'd be concerned about was mentioned previously in public comment, at the wrong time, I might add. Let's just make sure that this does not prevent additional short-term rentals. There's a lot of information out there about how short-term rentals can actually kill a community, such as down in Springdale, outside Zion. Might want to look at that. There's a lot of stuff out there. So I would support what you're doing here. Appreciate it very much. And just one side comment, Commissioners, to all three of you. I know there's a lot of heat, but I know the job you guys do is far more than an 8-hour job and a 5-day-a-week job. And I think everybody in the public may not agree with everything you do, but let's look at it, how much you actually do and the number of hours you spend on this job. And I personally thank you for that.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. We appreciate that comment. Others who would care to comment?
Online?
Got any online? Any hands up, Shelley? All right. Well, I'm ready for a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye. Very good. I'm now ready for an action if somebody cares to make one.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the county-initiated ordinance 2022-14 to better define those specific zones in the Ogden Valley planning area to help us with accessory dwelling units. And this just helps us with that clerical amendment, Z like Zulu, T Tango, A Alpha, 2021-11.
And I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote for ordinance 2022-14, Commissioner Ford.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Jenkins.
Aye. Very good. That passes. All right, this finishes our work today. Kind of a short meeting. Commission comments. Commissioners?
I have one.
Yeah, Commissioner Harvey, go
You know,
ahead.
I really do appreciate those who take the time, and you, Gary, for coming and taking the time to educate themselves on the things or the questions that we have to deal with. If there's one thing that we fall short on, is being able to, and we spend a lot of time and energy so that we can communicate effectively. Our job is more than just the executive or legislative part of this county. It also very much, if more than anything else, is to educate and let people understand the way we make decisions. There are a lot of decisions we make that that we may not necessarily like to do, but we're bound by law to do it. So sometimes we make decisions because we're bound by the law to do it. And it's a lot easier to make that decision than to spend county taxpayer dollars to fight it millions and millions of dollars in a court. And so we've got a great team here that advises us well. I look at you, Mr. Crockett, you and your civil team. We've got great people. I'm for one. I do my best to be a part of the election process and encourage good people to run, and then I trust them for their decisions. In the media, it's not always popular for the way that they either communicate or they vote, but I've always learned that when you, I've said this a lot, but when you break huddle, the coach calls a play, he's the coach. You either have a choice to follow the play or you don't. Those who follow the play usually are more successful in scoring more points. And so my goal is to move Weber County forward responsibly. It's also good from the side, like, Coach, wait, are you sure this is what we want to do? And it's okay to push back. But I think when it's all said and done, we are a great team here. I love our team here at Weber County. In my 29 years of service at Weber County, not all being a politician, but I don't ever remember a greater assembly of team members than we have today. No matter what department that's in, we have great people who genuinely try without malice to do the right thing, and I'm so grateful for them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Well, I would second that, but I also have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
So as I drove out this morning, I noticed that for the first time since last summer, a lot of my neighbors had their wheel lines going, irrigating their fields.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great to see that water come out. And we've been very fortunate this last month or month and a half of having these storms. The river that I happen to be close to has flowed significantly higher than a year ago, not at max by any level, but if you look at the dam level, it's actually come up. Kazi is, you're the water guy, is coming over the spillway. And anyway, we're in a lot better position than we expected to be in. Now again, that doesn't mean that we don't need to conserve, that we need to continue to be very careful with that water use, because after all, we are in the desert. But personally, we're in a little better position than I thought we'd be in starting the middle of May. And as you go out and turn those sprinklers on, again, I just urge the citizens to use the water they need, but don't use more than you need. save some of that for future, because we don't know what the next year's going to bring, water usage, so.
I agree.
But I'm very happy where we are right now.
I agree with that. Thank you, Commissioner Flora. That's great. You know, this year, this year for the first time, I installed a drip system in my garden. I've never done that. But, you know, trying to be part of the team here,
Yeah.
make sure that we score as a group. And so, yeah, I'm working on a drip system. And
Wow.
the dang things actually work. You just gotta be patient and let them do it. So anyway, I walked out there and I got a nice little row of wet right over where the seeds are, and it's like, man, look at that. Here we go. Yeah, perfect. All right.
You're doing your part.
I'm trying. That's what, and if we all try, we'll succeed.
You'll likely have less weeds because of that.
Yeah. I even bought some fabric to put over there to keep the weeds down.
Wow.
Weed barrier.
Man, you are just like Yule Gibbons
I'm trying to
extraordinary.
be. That's right. All right. Well, very good. Well, that completes our work today. How about a motion?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second?
All fair side.
Aye.